Welcome to another video. Today is gonna be a doozy. My top 10 list on heroes and villains I want to see specifically in the MCU and DCEU. Let's get it.
The name is Gambit. Remember it.
I love Gambit. I think he's cool as hell, and he might just be my favorite character ever. The only reason he's not higher on this list is because what the?
Okay, folks. I have to apologize.
Face the vengeance of the Moon Knight.
So in my first few drafts, I did have Gambit as my number 10, but I gotta give it to my boy Moon Knight. Sorry, my raging Cajun. But for those of you who don't know who Moon Knight is, just imagine Batman and the Joker had a baby together. It was a joke, but it's so accurate. But seriously, the dude is great. Although he's a bit darker than the Garden Variety Disney film, so he may be relegated to Netflix, but even there he's sure to make waves as a vigilante struggling with dissociative identity disorder.
My name is Miles Morales.
Miles Morales is easily my favourite comic book character ever. I mean, I even cosplayed as him once upon a time. Now, as much as I'd like to throw him to number 1, I know with Spider-Man being freshly introduced into the MCU, the idea of introducing another Spider-Man doesn't really make sense. But after recently enjoying a heaping heck out of the Into the Spider-Verse movie, Marvel, make it happen.
I probably should have mentioned this earlier. I'm poison.
Okay, probably my second and a half favourite character ever, and for sure the most underrated of Batman's rogue gallery. Easily tipping the scales as one of the most powerful members, as well as having some vast potential for dope design, creative fights with abilities, and great relationships with established characters. I took down my Saving Suicide Squad video, gotta say that 5 times fast, but I might re-upload a better version or put up my very own proposal for Suicide Squad 2, including yours truly.
But you can call me the She-Hulk.
Probably my top 2 favourite green female powerhouses, and she ain't number 2. Now for those of you who don't know who Jennifer Walters, or She-Hulk is, she's the cousin of Bruce Banner, who was given Hulk-like abilities via blood transfusion. However, unlike the Hulk, she retains her intelligence in her green form, although it certainly still gives her the urge to slay. In some adaptations, she retains this form permanently, which I prefer. It shows that unlike Bruce, she doesn't repress her Hulk, but instead openly embraces it. Speaking of which, it seems like no one is particularly bothered that Mark Ruffalo is also nearing the end of his contract, so the sooner she's introduced, the better. Now I'm sure a lot of the origin story would have to be retconned to fit her into the MCU, but damn it, give me my big green punchy lady.
Beware my power. Green Lantern's light.
A lot of green on this list. Now we all know it's a matter of when and not if the Green Lantern Corps will show up in the DCEU. And if anyone else watched Justice League animated as a kid, you know why this guy is so high up. Don't get me wrong, I like Hal Jordan, but with Flash filling the role of comedy relief...
You must be Barry. I'm Diana.
Hi, Barry. I'm Diana.
I think a more serious lantern may balance the team dynamics a little better. I mean, Justice League was an absolutely garbage film, and it's clear that the cinematic universe should start referring to a highly acclaimed, much loved adaptation just a little bit more. Plus, Hal Jordan already had his chance, and...
Oh, hell no!
Little hero, do you really think you have what it takes to survive Vandal Savage?
Okay, now we're getting to the real big hitters. Vandal Savage is definitely my favourite villain, maybe even character in all of comics. Here's a cosplay I did of him recently. Vandal Savage works as the single best shadow leader in all of comics by design. An immortal conqueror with no abilities bar his vast experience and intellect. He isn't going to go toe to toe with someone like Superman, but yet he regularly possesses a threat to the entire world, able to puppet characters that are traditionally much stronger than he. Now DC already seems committed to making Darkseid the first big bad, but Vandal Savage could easily be introduced in Wonder Woman 1984 as a third-party antagonist that add further complexity to the upcoming conflict. Plus, I mean, Cheetah? You really gonna have a goddess out here fighting a glorified furry?
I'm Kamala Khan!
Kamala Khan, or Miss Marvel, is an Inhuman introduced in 2013 as the spearhead of the Marvel Renaissance, winning a bunch of well-deserved awards for her solo issues. To be honest, the people above her are only there because of the unbelievably massive bias I have towards them. That's how much I think she should be introduced. Imagine this. On the back of Captain Marvel presumably saving the world from Thanos, a young girl that has recently found out she has amazing abilities tries to become a local superhero. Not only can she be used to introduce Inhumans to the MCU, but along with Peter Parker and Shuri, can represent the future of the MCU. In a post-Thanos, post-Fox merger, there will likely be a bunch of new heroes introduced. So like in the comics, she could be at the forefront of this new age, with Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange and Black Panther replacing the original core, and Spider-Man, Shuri, and yours truly forming as younger secondary core. Marvel are already pushing for her in the animated shows, so her addition to the MCU seems almost inevitable.
I am John Jones.
The greatest injustice is that DC seems to have forgotten about John Jones. Since the New 52, he was removed from the founding members roster, no live movie appearances, and minimal showings in the recent animated movies. Now, I don't know if it's because he's too powerful or what, but it's a problem. It seems that the powers that be are holding off from introducing Manhunter for many reasons, including his name and origin make little sense. Mars is a little too local these days. His original origins are also kinda dumb. Instead of fighting as a hero, as one of the most powerful individuals on Earth, he decides to don a trench coat and fight crime as a detective? His abilities are too similar to Superman's. They aren't confident in the Martian's popularity. But all these points are pretty easily remedied, and I feel like he would definitely be a worthwhile addition to the team. Firstly, we can do this new thing all the kids are doing called retconning his backstory, and this one's a doozy. Let's say in the DC universe, NASA did find some life on Mars, some very simple microbial form of life. They've been testing on it for X amount of years because of its capabilities to make humans green or whatever. But when Superman turns up, they decide to weaponize it in case Superman ever turns on humanity. Now, in order to train this Martian, he's employed as a Black Ops weapon, where he uses his global range psychic abilities to effectively track down highly wanted criminals, both superpowered and non, and detain them, and earning the nickname Manhunter. Boom. In terms of being similar to Superman, well, DC have already started that fire with Justice League. I mean, Wonder Woman is a weaker, grounded Superman, Flash is a slower, grounded Superman, and Aquaman is a much weaker, much slower, swimmier Superman, I guess. We barely see Cyborg or Aquaman use their wide movesets, with them often opting to punch their problem in the face. So figure that out first, Mr. DC. And as for his popularity, well, he's my favorite hero of all time, so that's all you need to know.
Storm, mistress of the elements!
Aurora Monroe, the High Priestess, the Rain Goddess, Storm. One of my favorite X-Men members, and I have a lot of favorite X-Men members. While her past appearances haven't exactly been terrible, I don't think they've really showcased just how badass she is. Bar Jean Grey, she is easily the strongest original X member, being a potential Omega level mutant. And for those of you who don't know what that means, in the current MCU, this would put her on par with the likes of Doctor Strange and the Thunder God himself. At the moment, the MCU doesn't need the X-Men, at least not in its entirety, and could hold off on introducing the group for at least another few years. Luckily, Storm has the benefit of fitting snugly into the current MCU by having a pretty significant tie with an extremely successful, popular new Avenger. Yes, in the comics, Black Panther and Storm are love interests that eventually even go on to marry. This will make Storm a perfect character to help expand on Wakanda and other African nations in the MCU. She is also one of the safer X-Men. X-Women? X-Men? What have I been saying this whole time? She's one of the safer X-members to use if Marvel are a little shy to include mutants just yet. Because to begin with, in the comics, she herself didn't know she was a mutant and thought her powers stemmed from magic. In a similar way to how Asgardians were introduced as gods, but are more like aliens now, she can be introduced as magic, which she actually has an affinity for, and if they want to introduce mutants down the line, she can switch over at any time. Right now, Marvel are trying to figure out how to do something like this with Scarlet Witch, who is traditionally a mutant in the comics, but has very different origins in the MCU. Leave a comment below if you want me to make a video on how I would introduce mutants to the MCU. But yeah, Storm is a character strong enough to stand alone or set up a highly anticipated X-Men for further down the line. To be honest, all I want is a story that puts Aurora at the front, where she belongs. And before I reveal my top pick, here are some honourable mentions that didn't quite make the cut. And for my number 1 pick, I have IGN's top rated comic book villain, another character that has already appeared on the big screen with a number of different actors even, and somehow sucked in different ways every time. I'm of course talking about Magneto. No, I'm joking, I couldn't even finish the sentence. Magneto has comfortably 2 of the best portrayals in comic history. That's the only reason he's not on this list. The dude is awesome. No, I'm talking about...
Look upon me and tremble, for my face is the last you shall ever see. I am Doom.
Victor Von Doom, or Dr. Doom, has recently become my favourite comic book character ever. Quick cosplay. Wait, IGN, I know it's hard, I get it, but you gotta pick one. The dude is a beast with some crazy accomplishments that could fit perfectly into the Marvel universe in a number of ways. In the comics, Doom is the ruler of his own country, Latveria. Now in some adaptations, Doom is an oppressive dictator that keeps his country in squalor and poverty. But in most, well, he's still an oppressive dictator, but instead the country is thriving as a world superpower with little poverty, disease or conflict. And this is typically the portrayal I prefer, as it opens up a bunch of interesting story threads. In an MCU where Wakanda has recently revealed itself, imagine Latveria also choosing to reveal itself, another far advanced nation. Now imagine the 2 nations come at odds with one another. Maybe Doom wants some vibranium for nefarious purposes, maybe T'Challa just doesn't like Doom's face. I mean, look at it. I don't know. All I'm saying is the Doom War storyline would be dope. Doom in the comics has also posed a planetary and even multiversal threat, so he definitely has the range to be a substantial villain. His feats are prodigious. He's potentially the smartest character in the entirety of Marvel Comics. Yes, above the likes of Tony Stark, Bruce Banner and even Reed Richards. He has a mastery of magic said to be comparable to Doctor Strange. He can also draw on the resources and privileges of being an autocrat of a superpower, and yes, that means diplomatic immunity. But most important of all is the infamous will of Doom that allows him to resist pain, distraction and even telepathic attacks. This is a scan of Doom resisting Kilgrave. Yep, that Kilgrave's abilities just because he can. His immutable will is potentially his most dangerous asset. To me, Dr. Doom has always been my favourite part of the Fantastic Four universe, from his great quotes to his great characterization. The only problem I can foresee is that his motivations are similar to MCU Thanos, a powerful man that believes that the world would be a better place under his rule. And if you think Thanos did nothing wrong, hashtag Thanos did nothing wrong, wait till you meet the enigma that is Doom. The dude is so damn charming. You begin to wonder if he's even wrong. I mean, it's been constantly shown in the comics that Doom is an overall force of good for Latveria, with other less competent leaders often leading the country to near ruin. He often shows a genuine desire to rule out of a love for humanity, and after seeing the future, genuinely believes that humanity can only survive under his rule. Despite his god complex, his long list of accolades certainly make a case for why this may be true. And that's it. My list of characters I would like to see soon in the MCU and DCEU. Thank you for watching, and while you're still here, comment below. Let me know if you agree with my picks, or if there's anyone you think I left off this list. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. You can follow me on my social media for channel updates, or if you have any suggestions on future videos. and bless.